think we're
Thank you.
finally ready.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
That's down the sheet.
Okay.
So what else is new? The agendas are always optimistic.
Here?
Yeah.
You've been here a long time.
All right. So with respect to the zoning amendment, where we are is you've gotten a couple of drafts that sort of outline some thoughts on how to organize what it is that we're considering, but we aren't yet at a place where we can actually look at specific language. And so what I wanted to do is take a look at the timeline from here to town meeting, and look at the target dates that we're going to have to meet in order to make something to have something on the warrant for town meeting, and whether we can get there from here. So working backwards, we're required to hold a hearing on this amendment, and in order to hold the hearing, we have to advertise 2 weeks running, correct? For the following week. So the second ad would presumably be for the following week after the second ad is run. So if you run the clock backwards, we're coming up on, this is the 2nd of April. We would have to get the ad in the paper by when?
Friday for our May 7th meeting.
So we'd have the hearing. That would just get us in under the wire. Here's the hearing.
The tricky thing is that when the ad is published, there's always 2-3 days of lead time for it appears in the paper. But by the time that it appears in the paper, there has to be a draft of the article of the amendment in the clerk's hands.
So that means it would be published on April 18th.
April 18th would be the first day of publication?
Yes.
So we have 16 days to get the language firmed up. And we don't have any language we can look at yet. That's the spot we're in.
Pretty solid draft.
Yeah, well, good. So that leads me to my next question, which is, what I think probably ought to happen is, if you think you're at a place where you're comfortable with it, with a draft, and you got both of them, right?
I did, yeah.
And you understood the principles?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then we would have to distribute that. You'd have to distribute it to us, and we'd have to schedule a meeting sometime. My guess is, well, the question is whether the warrant closes next Tuesday. Do we need to have language to put into the warrant? Okay, so you already have a warrant language.
Well, I brought copies for everyone to look at, so we can at least get this done tonight. And I actually sent it to Joe as well, so he has some time.
Oh, okay.
Just
Oh, you
we
did,
literally
yeah.
started
Yeah.
the meeting when you.
Yes, no, just I sent it for you to have it.
Yeah.
Not for you to have read it and stuff.
Perhaps you could read it.
I actually made copies for everyone. I'd be happy to read it.
Read
Sure.
it for the record.
To see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaw to add a new section, Roman numeral VM, Historic Structures Preservation District, for the purpose of encouraging and promoting the rehabilitation and reuse of historically important structures by allowing the reuse of such structures in the single-family residence A, comma, single-family residence B, comma, single-family residence C, comma, and business B districts pursuant to a concept plan to be approved by town meeting and subsequent site plan and special permit review, which projects may be permitted to incorporate a mix of uses as described in the bylaw, pursuant to said approvals, or take any other action related to thereto. And if you see the comments, it reads a little better. It's a mouthful.
Yeah,
in
no,
any
no,
event.
okay,
But it's meant
that's the
to
general,
capture
the general theme.
Yeah. So again, as I mentioned last time we were together, the article need only give people notice of what's going to be on the warrant. So they're told there's going to be a whole new section. It's going to be called the Historic Structures Preservation District. That gives people an idea of what the focus is. The purpose of it is going to be to encourage and promote the rehabilitation and reuse of historically important structures, and to allow the reuse of those structures in the named districts pursuant to a plan and subsequently to a plan to be approved by town meeting, concept plan, and subsequent site plan and special permit review. And then I added this phrase, this is where the wording got a little awkward, but I thought it was important, again, by way of notice, which projects may be permitted to incorporate a mix of uses. You know, obviously, we're not going to get all of the details, but I think that's an important detail to put out there, as described in the bylaw.
Yeah, that pretty well covers it.
So why don't you all take a copy anyway? My thought is if you want to send wordsmithing thoughts or ideas, and
Well, if you could, if you have you say you think you have a draft that's sort of getting close to workable, or what would your time frame be to be able to get a draft to us so that we can start to look at it?
oh, the bylaw. Well, I don't have one. I just looked at yours today, and I'm looking at Joe's. So, I wanted
So
to
I'm
have this
thinking we
meeting
gotta-
tonight.
We have to bring them together.
Right.
And
Yeah, due process wise, you get this on the warrant.
Right.
We have to look at a bylaw, vote on it, that we like it, schedule a hearing. How much time needs to happen?
we just went through that. We have to have the final language done by the 18th of April
So
in order to have a hearing on the 7th of May. So between now and the 18th, we've got to get the final language done that we can vote on. We've got 16 days to do it.
in order to have a hearing on the 7th of May. And that's far enough away from town meeting on the 13th?
It's the best we can do.
But is that, due process wise, is that adequate amount of time?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just checking on that, because some places say 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but we go with 1 week or.
Yeah, there's nothing that regulates the space between when you hold your hearing and town meeting, and I have attended a planning board public hearing 2 hours earlier than the town meeting. I don't recommend it.
No.
Run it, and it's legal.
No.
So
No way on
that-
So we're good with that.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to check on. Fine.
Yes.
So, I'm sorry, what was the date of the public hearing that you were looking at?
7th of May, which means that we'd have to have voted on the language to put into the publication by the 18th of April.
Yeah.
And so what I'm asking you is, since we all
Yeah,
have real lives,
yes, right.
we're obviously not going to be able to write this. But
That's right,
So,
yeah.
so I'm hoping that you could take the information that you've gotten so far, consolidate it, crank it out in a draft form, and let us take a look at it.
Our next meeting is the 23rd.
That's why at the beginning of the meeting, we talked a little bit on the side. With the exception of any special meetings we may schedule
That's
in
right.
between now and the 23rd.
Right, that's why I mentioned that.
Let's look at this. I'm just looking at a calendar. So from what you're saying now, it sounds like we'll be scheduling a meeting sometime
pretty soon.
Sometime between now and the 18th to start talking about it. So one of the ways we can work this is to try to find a date now, and I can work backwards from that. I mean, I know for a fact, I mean, today being Tuesday night, maybe I have something done by Friday. I feel more comfortable talking about getting something by early next week.
Early next week is fine. Early next week would be the 6th, so that's a 12-day window.
Be the 8th.
Monday
Right,
is
it's
the
the 8th?
Yeah.
You're right, it's the 8th.
So,
So it's a 10-day window.
when do you envision meeting? You want to?
Sometime in that,
You mean the
10
9th?
days between the,
Well,
the 9th is when I have to meet the selectmen to
ah,
present the language on the warrant.
so what other nights are there? Or days?
Do we have to meet before the 9th then, I presume?
No.
No.
it's just-
Although
He's not gonna be ready
That
until.
paragraph
early
that
next
I've sent around is all that we need for the 9th.
But we should meet sometime that week,
Right, so we either need to meet
or
on
the
the 8th
beginning
or
of the
Wednesday
next
the
week,
10th? or-
tax day.
week. Yeah.
And we're all really in good moods.
Do you want to meet on Wednesday the 10th?
I don't particularly have an odd day. Yeah,
It's okay with me.
you have no life.
No. One more year.
Well, some of you are going to be running the marathon on the 15th. So that's
Right, yeah.
Oh, we all
Don't
do.
look at me.
Yeah.
How about the 11th? How about Friday?
How about Friday? Are you doing anything Friday?
No. It's a big one. Would the 15th, the 16th?
I think we should schedule it as soon as possible after the 1st, because we may, I don't think we're going
Well, as
to
soon
bring a
as
rubber
possible,
stamp with us that
as
says
Joel
wonderful.
sends it to us, so he
Yeah, I'm gonna
can't get it out.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How about the 11th?
That's fine with me.
The 11th isn't bad.
April
That gives
11th.
us some
Yeah.
some time in case we want to do a revision in another meeting.
But what time during?
We can't do the 10th, 11th is good for me.
Oh, 10th is good, okay with me.
We're talking
And then I'm gone the
evening.
following week.
We're talking
School
evening.
vacation.
Yeah, what are we talking, what's time are we talking?
We're
Days,
talking
nights?
evening.
Presumably.
It's up to you.
I mean,
Those
evenings,
days
doesn't
are
matter.
pretty-
evening's better for me. You have 7, so.
Yeah?
So
On
we,
the
April
10th.
10th?
April 10th,
What time, 7 or 7:30?
7:30. And we'll look at language then.
Will we have a draft to review before then?
That's the-
Yeah.
Yes,
That's the
yeah,
whole
so-
point,
Yeah.
Steve.
I'm shooting for Monday. Gives me a wiggle day of Tuesday, but I'll do my best to have something to you. What I'll do, Joe, is I'll send it to you and you can send it around.
Okay. If there's a bump in the road, that's it.
No, we
Yeah,
hit our heads on it.
I mean, as you said, that date does leave time for
One more meeting if we
another
get
round.
around.
if need be, yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Okay. If we, look, if we do it, we do it. If we don't,
No, I think it's good material.
good. I'm glad to hear you say that.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. If you could, if you have another couple of minutes.
Sure.
That's great.
Yeah.